Good evening, everyone. My name is Mario Piombo. I am the Director of Innovation at Napa Learns. I am very excited to welcome you all to our kickoff of our Digital Innovator Program Spring Speaker Series. I'm joined by a couple of colleagues here. The first is Dr. Pamela Redmond. There we go. Pam, are you with me? There's Pam. Can you hear me, Pam? And Dr. Barbara Nemko.
Hi, Mario. I hear you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Very excited about this.
And Dr. Barbara Nemko.
Hi,
Great.
Mario.
I'm getting a little feedback here. I'm
getting a lot of feedback, Mario.
Very excited about
Yeah, let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and mute everyone else. Thank you guys for joining us. We're really excited to be featuring Alice Keeler for our very first episode of our Spring Speaker Series. Alice is just an amazing author and really kind of my go-to ed tech guru. She's constantly telling me that I need to learn to code. And whenever I have any kind of issues with Google, she's telling me that I gotta get behind the code and build my own plugins and add-ons. And I still haven't taken the leap yet. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it this year. I think it was kind of one of my New Year's resolutions was to figure out how to code my own kind of integrations with Google Apps. We're going to bring you in now, Alice. Let's see. I think you're here.
Oh, we lost somebody. We lost many people.
There we go. Yeah, I put them in the backstage. There we go.
I'm super excited to be here. I have such a good time when we hang out.
I know, it's so much fun. You bring so much energy to all of the wonderful things, especially all things Google.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's so many fun Google things, especially if you code them, Mario, which I did for tonight's presentation. So I'm hoping it goes smooth, or at least I'm impressed.
I might have to steal your code. I know you're going to make me code it myself, though.
No, well, if you are a premium member, I'm going to take this template and share it out so that you could use it at the end. So I'll send that to you. Love
it. Awesome. Well, do you want to go ahead and get started?
I am super excited to get
Give
started.
People what they want.
Yep. So you're going to be able to put my...
Yeah, let's, boom. There we go.
There we go. So we're talking about don't let the internet ruin your lesson. And I want to get my speaker notes up on here. I got this whole like crazy setup going. So hopefully I can rock this. I am at my house. I have got the presentation up on my TV. I've got my awesome Logitech clicker, and then I've got to like run the code that I'm doing. So let's see how smoothly I can do this. So we're going to not let the internet ruin your lesson. I am Alice Keeler, and I have a Google form. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the same Google form multiple times. So what's going to happen is after I give you the link to the form, after you submit, just let it hang out where it says submit another response. Let it hang out right there, because I'm going to be able to update the question. We're going to keep reusing the same form over and over again. So I have written 6 books. I got my 7th book. It's almost about ready to come out about Jamboard. But I have school classroom books, a book about ditching homework. And if you would like to win a copy, if you would go to alicekeeler.com/Napa21, I am doing a giveaway. Or I have stickers. Who doesn't love stickers? So let me know. Do you want a book? Do you want stickers? I am randomly choose someone. So what you got to do is you got to go fill out the Google form, alicekeeler.com/Napa21. You got to fill it out, Mario. alicekeeler.com/Napa21.
Hey, I have a question.
Who let you in here?
I sent Mario a Starbucks gift card, and he let me jump right in. Alice, are you going to be showing how to annotate PDFs? I'm just asking for a friend.
Well, as you know, I'm really into taking a step, and that digital is different. So taking activities that were designed for paper, they're awesome on paper, but they're not so awesome digitally. So I'm not going to be doing that today, because we want to look at how we can use digital differently and specifically embrace using the internet. But thanks for bringing that up, John. I appreciate that.
Thanks for joining us, John. Thanks for crashing the party.
That's good. That gives me enough time though. So I have coded this. I'm going to now add participants. I'm going to refresh this. Oops, go back. That was the wrong refresh icon. I clicked the refresh icon on the slides, which I made to look like Google Chrome, even though it's just Google Slides. So I need, thanks, Slides Mania. All right, so let's see how this goes. I've got book by Deborah. Deborah has won a book, so I'm gonna get in contact with you. I now have your email since you filled that out on the Google form. Let me pick another one. I got this menu thing that you can't see me doing it.
Hi,
Okay.
Marcia Carrillo. I got to say hi to Marcia. She's our homegirl.
Marcia. All right.
Deborah says yay.
Diana also would like a book. So thank you guys. Thanks for filling it out. Let's go back a little bit here if you have not done it yet. Last chance. Oh, I got Leslie on there. Why do I have so many? Oh, I put the wrong one. Dang it. That sounds like me. All right, so. Okay. I coded one to pick a winner, and then I coded one to put everybody's answers in there. So we have 80 people who have filled it out, so that's really cool.
I'll give away a book.
Okay, you'll give away a book?
Yeah, spin it again.
All right, I'm going to spin again. Let me add a slide that says Caripo on it. We're going to do Edu Protocols. Edu Protocols. And I spelled it wrong, just so we're clear. That's what happened. Okay. And then I push 85 and enter because I'm now on slide 85. Can you see where it says Edu Protocols?
Yep.
Nice.
Okay. So now I'm going to go to my menu that says randomize, which is what I meant to choose. I haven't practiced this in advance. Okay, and the winner is, here we go, Andrea Hansard.
Yay.
So, an Edu Protocols book. Thank you, Andrea. And I will be in contact with all of you. Thank you very much. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is all of you who filled out that Google form, I am going to send you a Google Slides. So now there's over 80 of them in there, so you got to give it just a little bit of time. It is taking your email address. It is creating a Google Slides for you with your name on it, and I'm sure you're like me and you have a typo in your name, so that'll show up. For some reason, I always do like a capital L, capital A, capital L, whatever. So that will be on there. Your name will be on there. It's going to send you an email with the link to this slides. So how this is going to work is I want to try and be a little interactive with you during this session. So I have got the Google Slides that I've sent you. And if on the first slide, you got like 3 minutes, you guys, you got to go find the Google Slides that I emailed to you. It still says it's running. It's a big job for it to make 80 slides. So it's making you a Google Slides. So if you'll go check your email account, it will say either it was able to share with you or it wasn't. But either way, I've set them all so anyone can edit. So if you click on the link in the email, that does assume that you filled out the email correctly. It's easy to make a typo. So if you didn't get one, I have an opportunity later on that I will do it again, but it does take a while for it to run. So you're taking just a couple of minutes to find the slides that were emailed to you. Mario, did you see if the slides came to you?
I didn't get them yet.
I'm hoping somebody did. I'm gonna go and check my folder. Okay, so I go to Drive. So I have a folder in Google Drive that has all of these.
I even used my Gmail account.
Yes, that's wise, but it really shouldn't matter. Here we go, Napa Docs.
I'm popping in too just to check it.
Okay, yeah, gotta do it. Okay, I got a bunch in here. No, wait, that's not the folder I clicked on. It opened up a different folder. It's like mad at me. Napa Docs. Yes, here we go. I definitely have many of them in here. I've got Laura, I've got Mark Dressler, got Nye, got Marquetta, Elizabeth Lee, Dana, Chris Clementi, Nancy, Sherry, Scott Kestrel. I got a bunch of them in there, so that's good. So if you will check, and what you're doing is on the very first slide, you got 3 minutes. Tell me about yourself. Let's see how I do on this. I'll give everybody else one more chance. If you go to, oh no, I can't do it that way. To enter.
Oh, I see everybody in there. Yeah.
If you go to alicekeeler.com/Napa21, you can fill out the Google form, and then I am going to send you a Google Slides. So if you haven't filled it out yet, alicekeeler.com/Napa21, I'll give you another chance.
Yep, we just put the link in the chat.
Yeah. And Mario, there should be a button where you can pop that into the on screen as well in StreamYard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
There you go. You can just leave it up.
And keep the slides up. So I'm going to have you kind of toggling each of those during the presentation. That's why we went for 90 minutes. Give everybody time that they can try and make something. Okay, I am going to make the slides.
Alice, if I could recap here real quick. I'm looking through all your slides. You've kind of made a thing that's akin to a Nearpod Pear Deck kind of thing, but it's totally free because you're working within the Google. Is that kind of what people are seeing here?
And I'm a big fan of using Pear Deck. I do use it.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything bad, but it's a place where everybody can have their own little workspace, and you're going to ask them questions, and they can create and share right in that one single workspace.
Yeah, and I think Nearpods and Pear Deck are great examples of ways to be interactive with students. Yes, I did code this. Let's thinking about it. Okay. Let me refresh. There we go. Slide 88. You are 88. There we go. You're telling me about yourself on the first slide, and as soon as this code finishes running, I am going to pull in. I'm going to pull in your slides. Fingers crossed, my friends. Hey, John, did you make a slide about yourself?
I'm looking for my slide. I'm in the slide deck, and now I'm looking for my slide.
Let's see. Did you fill out the Google form?
I sure did.
Okay.
It was super easy.
We'll check. I got Tova. I got Tina.
See Dina and Brittany and Jennifer and Tasha.
Pam, did you get yours?
Yes, I got mine right away.
Okay. I'm going to click on that. Sorted last modified. So I'm going to look and see that Tova has got her slides. Let me see if there's anything on it. No, not yet. Okay. All right, I can't wait too much longer, so I'm just gonna give you a few more seconds. So make sure, try and get your Bitmoji on there if you can. I have like a Bitmoji, Friendmoji obsession. Definitely made a bunch, so I don't know. Let's give this a try. I'm gonna try pulling in. I'm going to try and get slides. Here we go. I'm going to get the slides. Okay, so far, thinking about it. You know what I should do?
Alice, mine.
Cherie Kessler says to check the spam.
Oh, check the spam. Okay. It is running the script, it says. Of course, when I tested this, I had 3 documents that it was doing it. So what it is doing is actually taking the first slide off of all of your slides and pulling it into my presentation. If you use alicekeeler.com/first slide, I have this capability where you can push slides out to students and pull in the text from their slides or the slides themselves. Come on, they haven't shown up yet. I'm going to do a refresh. Refresh. All right, this was my fear. This is going to be my downside.
Well, I was going to have Pam introduce herself and her audio cut out earlier, so I could have, we could we could pivot to that for a second.
Pivot to that for a second. Let's get this going.
So I want to introduce Dr. Pamela Redman, who's Pam, remind me of your title at Thoreau. It's Chair of Graduate School of Education. Is that right? At Thoreau University. Oh, you're muted. You're on mute there.
I'm currently chair of graduate studies, but I'm moving to innovation only shortly in my next personality change.
Excellent. You want to tell us about LearnShift and how we got started?
Yeah. So LearnShift is a group of teachers in mostly in Napa County who've gone through the Learning Innovation Lab innovative learning program that we do for a year through a partnership with Napa Learns and Napa County Office of Education. And when COVID hit in March 2020, we came together and said, how can we help? And we started running weekly sessions to support local teachers to have mentoring, to join a Friday afternoon club and commiserate. And we've been running workshops. We ran a back to school 3-day workshop to help everybody get ready to teach with COVID. And in January, we ran another one that, I don't know, Mario, we had like 300 people at that one.
Yeah, 300 or 400, yeah.
Yeah, and so we've just been hanging out there, taking our expertise and giving back and supporting teachers to be successful and moving to working in the new environment that we're in right now.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Pam's been a great partner.
Yeah, and we've got some amazing, really veteran teachers, new teachers, all of whom are pushing the envelope around how do we best meet students' needs and leverage technology to support student learning and grow. So we're reimagining classrooms.
Absolutely. I'm also going to introduce Dr. Barbara Nemko, Napa County Superintendent of Schools. She's a pretty famous person out there. She's been a champion of educational technology for many, many years. I know Napa County Office of Ed has provided professional development like this for, I would say, close to at least 10 years, Barbara.
Well, we are so grateful that we have the collaboration with Napa Learns and now with LearnShift. We couldn't do it without you. We are great believers in teachers having the opportunity to get this kind of professional development. And when we had to pivot during COVID to remote learning, I think Napa County did it more seamlessly than anybody because we had been doing this for more than 10 years. So thank you. And then we get great people like Alice Keeler and John Carippo. Oh my God.
Right.
Absolutely, we couldn't do it by ourselves. So thank you.
Okay, I got this. When you're ready.
Awesome. Yeah, let's jump back into it.
Okay, so we're telling about ourselves. So thanks you guys for jumping in and telling about yourselves and about Napa. So we have someone who's teaching in southern New Mexico. Hey, someone's in Ohio. Thanks for the picture there. Is that Marsha? We're working from home. Maybe that's not Marsha. 13 years of experience, mainly math. I'm also a math teacher, so welcome. I should have asked you to put your name on the slide, everybody. My fault. Next time. Some of these are going to be blank. All right, middle school teacher teaching ELA. How's it going? The weather's pretty nice here, although this morning it was raining. Chris is here. Thanks, Chris, teaching middle school computer design science. And it's Chris Clementi. I remember I was at a conference and someone had put that they were Chris Clementi on one of my things that I was doing like this. And I'm like, this person's joking. It's not the Chris Clementi, isn't it? What? We had lunch together. So, hey, Jen, I'm a high school English teacher from Central New York State. Many of my colleagues complain that their students are just Googling, copying, and pasting answers. And that's exactly why we're here, Jen. Let's embrace that. Of course they are. Me too.
Make them do it faster. Turn it into a scavenger hunt.
Right. Hello. Right. High school biology teacher from Plano, Texas, and a mom of a 2-year-old. God bless you. My baby is making his own pork chops on the gas stove. So I guess they're all ready to move out now. Hey, cute picture. Got the little flowers going. I'm a mathematics instructor looking for new and better ideas. Awesome. Me too. We're learning from home, ready to go. Thanks for joining, teacher, wife, and mom. Hey, Dana, thanks for being here. High school math and computer science teacher. What, Canada? I used to be a pastry chef for over 18 years. Now, you guys, I have my own cooking blog. So if you go to cookingkeeler.com, you can get some of my Instant Pot recipes. I don't have any pastry chef stuff on there. So whoever this person is, we don't have their name. We should get together sometime. I got a new teacher. Well, welcome. And are both the boys 13? Oh, bless you. We have a chemistry teacher in the house, a middle school teacher in Southern California. Okay, whoops, went that one too far. 6th grade science teacher in Dalzell, South Carolina. Thank you, welcome. Hey, Mark, welcome. I grabbed these before you were done with them. Sorry about that. We have a grade 6 teacher. And so let's go back to the Google form because that one goes a little bit smoother. And what you're going to do is go back to alicekeeler.com/Napa21. So we're going to fill this out multiple times.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, hold on. Actually, I got to be on that one. And I have to, what happened here? Like everything went to heck. I need to update it so it pushes that question. It doesn't really matter, but who is the 14th president? You want to fill that into the Google form? So let me know. I knew this. I practiced this. I'm like, I've got this down. Of course, when you're in the middle of it, you like freeze up and you're like, what was I doing? What did I have prepared? So for those you can't see it, but I have a menu that I've added to these slides. So each of the things that I'm trying to do, it's going to push slides, it's going to pull them, it's going to put the Google form in there, it's going to take your responses and bring it in to this presentation, and really just for my own amusement, right? Okay, so I'm going to grab your answers. I got my participants. Okay, refresh on slide 113. Okay, we've done adding them. Okay, here we go.
Is it bad if I yell out the answer?
Go ahead, yell out the answer. I hope what you did was,
because I didn't know till I Googled it. And
yeah,
Franklin Pierce. Here we go.
We got it. Tova says, I don't know. Is it cheating? So Tova says she could cheat and Google it. I think it's not cheating to use tools that you'll have access to 24/7 in your everyday life. Now, when I started teaching high school math, we would not let the algebra students use a calculator because what? Are they always going to have a calculator on them? I'm so glad that was the reason. Because, yeah, so give them a calculator. Let's move past
it turns out they will always have a calculator on them. It looks just like an iPhone. And Alice, if I can add on to that.
Tim's got the right answer. Michelle's got the right. Look at this quiz. Jennifer, you guys, like you stayed in advance. Dana wants a book. Scott wants Franklin Pierce. Here we go. Shannon, well, then Google it.
When I was just in 2nd grade, Alice, I remember that the coolest kid in class had memorized all the presidents, right?
Yeah.
Which that was a big deal. But nowadays, I don't need to memorize presidents. I have them right here. What I should be memorizing is how presidents impacted history. Totally different outcome.
Exactly, totally. Now, no one is better at trivia than my husband. In fact, we go to it's a restaurant. They have a bar in it. And you sit in the bar area, and they have trivia every week. And we clean up the floor. Like my husband's really good at trivia, and what he likes to say is like, this skill he has is almost useless. Like, who cares that he's also got all the presidents memorized forwards and backwards because he's a history teacher. And he's like, no one cares.
Yep.
It's good. It's not Lincoln, you guys. That was the 16th president. Leslie's got it. Thank you. Tana's got it. Will's got it. Thank you. Jeannie's got it. Wants a sticker. Brittany, she doesn't know without Google, so Google it. Sounds good. Okay. Sorry. I got all these responses. Don't worry. I'll figure this out. Shannon, thanks for being here. This is my fault. So I have 2 things going on. I did file publish to the web in the Google Slides. I did file publish to the web so that the presentation could be in a tab all the time because I can't be in presentation mode to run the code. So I have to catch up with myself that I'm on both presentations on the same slide. Go big or go home. All right. Right, that's okay, so I'm going to come down. Just be patient with me. It's fun. Okay, so I'm going to come down. We are on slide. Oh, my gosh. You guys really participated. Thank you. You were awesome. You are awesome.
There was a question, too. Someone had asked, why not use Nearpod to do something like this?
Why not use Nearpod? Because this way because I don't want to.
because you created your own pod.
A good answer is if your district isn't going to pay the extra, this is a totally free way to use it with Google Tools. That's the favorite thing.
There's that too.
It took me a while to code it, but I have some hidden things that I'm doing with it. So yes, you could use Nearpod. I use Pear Deck, which is very similar, and it works right with the Google Slides. I have a little more interactivity and control over my slides when I do it myself, obviously. Okay, so hold on. Don't do it this time. I got to update the form. So now, go ahead, fill out the form. What's the square root of 37? Square root of 37.
I'm actually getting fast at this.
Okay. Square root of 37.
How many places would you like the decimal, Alice? Because I'm going to flex right now.
Significant digits. Significant digits. This is what I'm working on with my 5th grader right now, is decimals, dividing. Okay. All right, we ready? Well, we have it. I'm going to do participants. I'm going to push that. Okay, hold on. Participants, please work. It got mad. It thinks that I have too many slides. Okay. All right. Well then, that would be what we call terrible. So when we do the square root of 37, I'm hoping, my hope is that all of you Googled this, right? So my boss, Justin Coffey, he's super awesome. He is the former Kansas Teacher of the Year. And he just assumes all of the students are using the internet. Of course they are. And that's where we've been for this last year, is kids have had access. How do I stop kids from using their phone? You don't.
You don't.
I don't stop myself from using my phone. When I want information, I Google it. I ask questions all the time. Even my 5-year-old, he's not 5 anymore, but when he was, he's an okay Google. We have one of those Google Homes. Like, this is their norm, is they look things up. So I assume that my students are using the internet. So the question is, how does that change your lesson plans? Should be our new norm. This going back to normal. It's a new normal. It's a new normal for us.
William Fritz has a good question about Google Translation, and I think it's worth pointing out this is separate than Google Translation. So if it's like a Spanish class or a French class or a German class, I think what we're talking about here is, I just think of the internet as a giant scavenger hunt. And one of the protocols that we use is sketch and tell. I'll ask my kids to read an article and then sketch and tell 3 things that were important to them. And then we chat about it. We could use a process just like this. When you're talking about translating the Google in terms of Google Translation, that's a whole other thing. And I think I don't teach second language, but I think that if you're going to have kids use Google Translation on that, the key is having them design conversations and compare them side by side. That's a whole other thing. So I just want to help William out on that. I can talk about that later, William. I got some friends that do world languages and have really good ideas.
Yeah, very good. And if you use alicekeeler.com/translate chat, oh my goodness, my code has broke. I did something. I don't know what it was. If you use alicekeeler.com/translate chat, you can have students chat in any language and it'll convert it to English and keep it all in a spreadsheet everywhere together. And that just uses a basic spreadsheet formula. Do you know that there is translation right in Google Sheets, which I think is super awesome. All right, I'm going to move past this. So here is my rule, and I've had this rule for a long time. Don't tell kids things that they can look up. My rule is every lesson is a short search lesson. It's 2021. I ask questions instead of telling them. I'm not here to replace YouTube. If what I'm doing is I'm giving kids information, having them copy it down, I've been replaced by a video. And so the value of a teacher goes so much further than basic information that we can get off Google. So I say if they can get it off Google, please let them. So I don't tell them the quadratic formula. I ask them to look it up. I say, what is the quadratic formula? You tell me what's the formula for finding how many angles are in a circle? Or not, yeah, how many angles are in a circle? That would be
a lot.
Goodness, a lot. Now, of course, if you're doing the proof of how to get the circle, you actually do it by inscribing a bunch of polygons in there, but that's a different issue, right? Is I want them to look it up. But actually, before I have them do that, go ahead, look it up. What's that going to do? We want to explore and investigate those rules ourselves and have kids engage, explore, explain, extend, evaluate. So every lesson is a search lesson. So if you go to a googleaday.com, now let me see if I am able to push this to you, which is my goal. And I was afraid of this when I had so many people on it that I would break it. Oh, hey, look at that. Okay, and what slide am I on now? I'm here. And now I'm going to push the slides. Okay, so if you go to googleaday.com, what this lets you do is look up, gives you some search challenges, and they're not easy. How do we teach kids to do Boolean search, to really do a good Google search? They're all Googling, but are they doing it well? And so I think what we shift to is from telling kids information to helping them to be good finders of information and good consumers of information. So if you try googleaday.com, we don't have time for that today, but I do have that resource out there for you. So there's the Flat Earth Society. Go look on Facebook. What's happening right now is just a lot of misinformation. I am constantly looking at Facebook. Someone has posted something, and it doesn't take more than a quick Google search to debunk what it is. But there's a lot of fake information out there. In fact, one of my friends is the former librarian at Google, and she says the old rule used to be if you triangulated information, if you could find the same piece of information in three places, we would assume that it's true. That is no longer the case anymore because bad information gets copy and pasted all over the internet like crazy. So we need to teach kids how to validate information, not to believe everything off of the internet. I actually had one kid told me that their source was Instagram. I'm like, that is not a source. It is. It's just irresponsible to just bury your heads in the sand and think that kids aren't going to Google things, but we need to teach them how to do it well, how to cite their sources and justify validity. Go to the next.
I draw the line at TikTok. TikTok's as low as the bar goes for being an original source. I'm just kidding.
All right. And so we switched to the what is the answer to why is that the answer. So the key is really, if we're going to embrace the internet, this is our new normal. So we have to ask a different question. Are they able to copy off their neighbor? Can you personalize it? John, both me and Barton quoted you. So I'm going to let you tell how do you write a question that they can't Google?
Well, I would tell you that I don't write a question. I give the kids a framework, right? So that's the beauty of the protocols approach. You give kids a cyber sandwich, have two kids work together and say, watch a YouTube video, tell me 3 or 4 important things, build a Venn diagram, then we do the Socratic seminar. And that's one of the things in the protocols approach is you still do direct instruction, you just do it later. So Mark Franzak actually dovetails very nicely. His question is, and I know you'll love this one, Alice, do you have them look up info prior to class as prep or during the class? And here's the problem, you guys. We got to be honest. They won't look it up. So what I do is I give them chunks. I give them very clear chunks. And I say, you've got 5 minutes to read this, 10 minutes to read this. And then there's an activity. And then I clean up the mess at the end. So there's this shift. And I learned this from you, Alice. Teach small, right? Why would I stand here for half an hour telling kids things that at the end they don't remember? So what I do is I make them read or watch. I make them take notes some way, sketch and tell, thin slides, something like that, some construct. And then we see what everybody did. No poker chips, no popsicle stick. Everybody plays. And I've got a last quick one for MS29G. She has a very cool code name. What about when I give it to them and then they still copy? So I just came up with a protocol about 3 weeks ago called Parafly because my kids were actually afraid of paraphrasing. It wasn't just that they couldn't, they were afraid. So here's what I have them do. MS or Ms. 29G, that's probably her room number. What I have them do is I give them in Socrative, or you could do it in a Google form. I give them one paragraph from what I want them to read. Think close read. Then I have them paraphrase right in front of me. Like, here's a paragraph, paraphrase it. And we'll do 3 or 4 paragraphs. And guess what, Alice? We got a close read. We got a retell. We got a paraphrase. We got real-time grading. And it's super slick because part of the thing that kids don't like about paraphrasing is they're intimidated by the way it sounds. And then I'll give you the mic back. But I think I did okay there.
No, that was perfect. And I really like what you said is that you do explain it. You do the direct instruction. You just don't start with it. So if you look at that,
I don't spend 20 minutes on that. Why? They're not going to listen.
I agree. If you look at the 5E's lesson plan model, it says engage, explore, and explain comes third. Now, ideally, we have the kids explain it, but that could also be you explaining it. It's firstly, what can they explore? What can they figure out? What conversations can we have? And then we see what gaps, as you said, clean up the mess. What do we have to do?
Well, I love the 5E's, and I think that all the E's are the kids. Have the kids explore. And I go like this. You got 5 minutes. Find out what molarity is. Ready, go. Make me a thin slide. Tell me 3 things. You got 5 minutes to make a slide. Go. In 20 minutes, we can have 2/3 of the 5E's done. And Alice, what's my prep time? I need some blank slides.
Yeah, exactly. Blank slides are my bread and butter. Totally. All right, so we're going to go back.
Hi, Jen. And Sydney had one more quick question, Alice. I would love to hear your response. What grade level do we teach students to determine the verify? And I think it's a trick question because I would start as early as possible. What's your take?
What grade level do we teach kids to verify? Are they breathing? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the skill right up front is how do we know this is true? You can start that even with very little kids. I have 5 children. I am a high school teacher. I did write a book with Christine Pinto on teaching littles that my spouse is obviously teaching bigger kids. But I have little children and they say all kinds of whoppers and different things. And of course, I just like to mess with them. Like, Mom, you're just kidding. I'm like, I am just kidding. So I feel like I'm just teaching them how to vet information by joking with them.
Yeah. It's experiential. That's what people remember.
Yeah. So here's my question. What is DOK? What is DOK? Not dork. Not dork. Do you know what DOK is?
I do.
This is like my hobby. When I get together with Shelly Burgess, we sit down, we have a glass of wine, and we always do this. We talk about DOK, and then I say, okay, I've got this great DOK3 activity. And she always, oh my gosh, it's like maddening. She comes back with, well, I'd have to see how the students are doing it in class. How much is the teacher scaffolding it? I'm like, yeah, but in theory, it's DOK3, right? So this is
and one thing my little spin on that I've leaned to also, Alice, is teachers tend to think you only do 1 DOK at a time, but in 1 hour I can have 4 DOKs going. We can do some 1, some 2, some 3, and some 4 as separate activities. And people tend to think today's a DOK 1 day, today's a DOK 2 day, and it doesn't sequence like that. Yeah.
I even like to throw in some DOK 0.
Yeah, well, and you'll be impressed because I've been teaching math year, right? Because I'm a self-contaminated 6th grade. But this is what I'll have going on in one math class. We'll be doing math reps, DOK 2. We'll be doing code combat, writing code, DOK 3. We'll be doing, what's the other one? Mathagon, which if you haven't seen is super cool, mathagon.com. We'll be doing like 5 different activities in an hour and a half, and we're all over the place. Sometimes we're just doing Blooket or GimKit and it's math facts. That's fine. But 5 minutes later, we'll be writing code for code combat. So now we're at like a 3.5. It's all over the place.
Easy. I use a lot of DOK1, and we're going to get into what that means in a second. I just don't grade it. It's so time consuming to shift and change how you teach. I got to let something go. So I let go grading DOK1. I'm totally all about that. All right, so let's go. What is DOK? What do we got here? Come on. It won't work if I haven't clicked on the slide here. Right? It means depth of knowledge. Thanks, Chris. It does stand for depth of knowledge. Penelope for the win. It is how much critical thinking the student is doing. It's a measure of critical thinking on a level of 1 to 4. It is depth of knowledge. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Christine. Joanne knows that it is depth of knowledge. Thank you, Tamara. Depth of knowledge. Herb. Okay, look at you guys. Lauren, depth of knowledge. Here we go. Look quick. Ashley, Rafa, Lisa, Aaron, Marnie, Christine, Leah, Liz, Leslie, Jennifer, Will, Jenny, Trisha, Becca, Deborah, Mia, Samantha. We've got some of the answers from the square root. That's okay. But the point is, of course, we all Google things. That is our norm. Why wouldn't we not only expect the kids to do it, but to expect them to do it?
The conversation is what makes it memorable, not just the fact. It's the release of dopamine is because of the discovery and the conversation, not the memorization. And Sean Reed shared that he was teaching his students that boba was actually made from fish eggs and pollywog eggs, and they could not refute that. That was awesome, Sean. Great share. And then Elizabeth Reed said if I could repeat the process. So Elizabeth, that's an Edge protocol called Sketch and Tell. So you have the kids read, watch, interact with something, right? And then you give them a blank slide. I'm in the Alice's sweet spot here. You give them a blank slide, and they have to model what they did without any Google images or pictures. They have to use the drawing tools and then list 3 facts about what they learned. So imagine rain cycle, plant a seed turning into a plant, volcanic eruption. So you model it over here, and then you write about it over here. And you're super welcome, and thanks for asking, Elizabeth. Back to you, Alice.
Thank you. Thanks, John. I'm glad you showed up so randomly. Perfect.
That's what I do.
What you do. So DOK, my quick and dirty for DOK is how much figure it out is there. So think about that. When we're talking about giving kids information, they're not figuring out, I'm giving it to them. So I want to ask a question and have them figure something out. How much is their brain sweating? So there are 3 levels, 4 levels. Why did I do this? Okay, there are 4 levels, kind of 5. DOK 0 is copying without thinking, just blindly copying stuff down, DOK 0. DOK 1 is recall. They have to memorize, recall, steps, procedures. DOK 2 is skill and concept. There is something that they have to figure out. There's something they have to do to figure it out. DOK 3 is defined by strategic thinking. And my quick and dirty for that is make a claim and justify it with evidence. And DOK 4, and I'd like to emphasize, our goal is not to do DOK 4. You'd be doing pretty good if you do DOK 4 once or twice a year, and it's usually more summative. It's more complex reasoning. It's not how hard it is, it's how complex it is. So I've got this math problem that was in a 7th grade math book, and someone tweeted this question out. Here we go. Someone tweeted this question out and said, hey, we're having a little bit of trouble over here understanding how to find the solution. And then the most wonderful thing happened. John, do you remember this? This was a couple years ago.
No, but I love this already.
All these rock star math teachers jumped in to give the answer, and they got it wrong. And they got it wrong. See, that to me, what the hallmark of a good question is, when you ask a good question, and by definition of a good question, I mean, you can't just Google it and find the answer. That's boring. There's no fist pumps involved in that. Like, you got to work for it. You got to have some productive struggle. Like, I earned that. When you look at a problem, you're like, let me think about it. Yes, there we go. Let me think about it. That's what I'm looking for. So after I went through this, I ended up having about 50 Google slides kind of working through, well, this is a formula that I know, and this is a strategy I'm going to try, and that didn't work. And I also got the wrong answer, but I realized it didn't make sense. So I gave myself feedback, and I re-strategized and did it again. So this is a DOK 3 level question. It's much, you can't just Photoshop, why I keep saying that? Photo math, you can't just photo math.
Photo math ain't going to work on this now.
Questions where they have to strategize. This is a math example. I'm a math teacher, but I've been trying to not use those. Okay, if you have joined late and you didn't get any Google slides, if you want to go to alicekeeler.com/Napa21, if you'll fill that out, wait, I gotta do this where I update it. If you'll go there and put in your name, I'll make you Google slides. We'll see if it's working.
And then I got a couple of questions while you're transitioning there, Alice. So yeah, everything I talked about is in the book, but you guys, I'm not here to sell books. You can just go to edgeofprotocols.com and the templates are there, or look on Twitter. And then Lori Gaynor asked, why wouldn't you use Google Drawings instead of a blank slide? On that particular, for Sketch and Tell, I want to hit the grid view. My friend Alice Keeler taught me about grid view in slides.
Grid view.
And when I click on grid view, I can see them all at once instead of doing an autopsy. So drawings are great, but they don't share as well. And then Audrey jumped in and said, could you use Jamboard? Yeah, Jamboard would totally work great for that.
Well, but then the same things.
And then Mark Franzak said, don't tell us the circle question because he wants to work on it. Bingo.
Okay. See, that's the hallmark of a good question. In fact, I've been having kind of a crappy year because this is my first time teaching geometry. And I finally feel like I've just hit my mojo and my stride as I gave the kids a DOK 4 level question. I'm like, I know you guys won't be able to answer this because it was literally designed for math nerds who just get it like, ooh, that looks interesting. But it's those conversations that we have that really get kids engaged and involved. And it's like, well, I don't know what to do. So now we have to think about it. And it's not that anxiety of feeling like I'm supposed to know what to do and I don't. You're not supposed to know what to do. And it makes for much better classroom engagement. Okay, so I have some examples of DOK, and please, John, argue with me. So like I said, like my idea of a good time is hanging out with Shelley Burgess where we have a glass of wine and we debate DOK.
Yeah.
DOK is really tough because it's not about the verb. It's about how much critical thinking the student is doing. How much scaffolding you give them decreases how much critical thinking they're doing. And if you've shown them how to do it, boom, it's DOK 1. So who is the first president of the United States? We will agree that that is DOK 1.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we would do that in Blooket or Gimkit, and we're going to memorize all the presidents, and it's going to be great fun, but it's not the same as learning. It's only memorizing.
Right. And so skill concept is why was George Washington the first president? So they have to do a little bit of figure it out. It's not so straightforward. It doesn't just pop out an answer I could put on a single line like that.
Shout out to Becca Flora. She just said she was going to use GridView and PowerPoint, but she couldn't find it, so she Googled it. She's in business. Good job, Becca.
There we go.
Living the life.
So here is my quick and dirty. This is my quick and dirty for DOK 1 and DOK 2. Is there an answer key? If there is an answer key, it is at best DOK 2.
Yeah, I would agree with that. This can be converted to ABCD answers or I love this one if you teach middle school when the textbook says answers may vary and the kid reads you their answer, you tell them, no, I'm sorry, it says answers may vary. You're wrong. And then one more thing, Reagan Wilson, her internet's down. Yes, you can watch the slides later.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so now we've got some DOK 3. Here's my example. Barton and I debated this. That's my husband. He's a history teacher, English teacher. What would have happened if George Washington refused the presidency? Now, remember, my quick and dirty is make a claim and justify it with evidence. So if they just say the answer, then that's where it comes back to where it's debatable. Did they answer at a DOK 3 level? Did they really have to stretch their brain, make some arguments, maybe argue about it? So a DOK 3, it's that zone of proximal development. If you ask a DOK 3 level question, I don't expect them to get it right because it's strategic thinking, right? What do you do when you strategize? You try something, get some feedback, and try something else. You strategize, you think through it. So that zone of proximal development, Vygotsky zone of proximal development, says that we can only get so far by ourselves and that we need someone to help take us further. So this is the magic sauce of what we bring to teaching, is helping students take it further beyond what they can just get from a YouTube video or Google searching it. So a lot of times we got to bring in that feedback loop. That becomes really essential. And another reason that I really like to use Google Slides is because I have them do something on slides. I add a feedback slide. I have a template. You just go up to the view menu and you go to master and you can mess with the master slides. And I make a master slide that's purple, so that when I add a slide that I give feedback, it has this purple background so the kids can see where my feedback is in there. And so then I give it back to them and they have to update based on feedback.
And I want to be really clear on this next share. Edu protocols aren't really built for a DOK 4. Would you agree, Alice? That's more of a project-based scenario. Like you can't do a lot of DOK 4 in like a 1-hour class. It takes time. You got to interact with the community. You got to get feedback. I mean, it's possible.
My quick and dirty for a DOK 4, which remember is complex reasoning. Not that it's hard, that it's complex. It usually takes place over time, and it's usually summative. And notice I keep throwing around the word usually. Let me tell you, like a compare and contrast here with DOK 3 would be to make a claim and justify with evidence from the text versus looking at multiple different genres. So it's not a research paper necessarily with multiple sources, but it's different kinds of sources. So I'm looking at the movie, I'm looking at the book, I'm looking at the comic book version, I'm looking at whatever other adaptation, and then I'm citing evidence and comparing and contrasting across sources, across genres. That's my dirty.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is I think the reason people like protocols is if you do a sketch and tell, I can say things like this: read this poem and tell me what it means, but only use metaphors. And now the complexity goes up because they're not just telling me why it's a third person or what they're actually, I'm forbidding literal interpretation and you have visual. Or if you're doing a mini report, I can give them a PowerPoint and a web page to synthesize their own paragraphs in. So I would be willing to say that's even like a 2.8 or 9. But for teachers who want to teach the way you're asking us to, Alice, it's a great set of training wheels to start transitioning because it could be intimidating to walk into your class and go, I don't have a teacher's manual anymore. How am I going to grade this? So protocols are a nice transfer there. And as you get more comfortable, you get wilder. I've literally gotten to the point where I'll walk in. I made a photocopies last week. We were doing water rockets. And I made a photocopy of the instruction. I gave all the kids the instructions and I said, redo the instructions because I'm not going to teach this to you. And you should have seen what they did visually instead of just, thumbs up, I agree. And there's that handoff is really neat.
Sorry to cut you off, John. For those of you who don't know, the book Edu Protocols is available on Amazon. I wrote the foreword. John and Marlena wrote the rest of the book, probably mostly Marlena.
Best forward ever. That's what I'm saying.
I'd highly recommend. And so what that really is, I want to quote Shelley Burgess again, is to live in DOK 2 and 3 and visit 1 and 4. Here's the problem. The majority of my math textbook is actually DOK 1. Like, how do I move away from where all my resources are DOK 1? You're not moving over overnight. You're not moving over overnight. It's going to be a gradual thing that you can introduce some of these once in a while. And like I said, I like to do DOK 4 once or twice a year. I'm not doing it all the time. It is something more intense that we do after we've brought in some other elements, usually. But
or another way to look at that
point.
Another way to look at that is if you love teaching math because you're Alice, but maybe you're not as excited about maybe reading, try some weird stuff in reading. You got nothing to lose. If you're John and you got the reading stuff down, try some weird stuff in math. Because if you like doing it anyways as a teacher, you might as well have some fun and experiment and try to figure something out. But you don't have to just dump your whole filing cabinet. You can start integrating these flows. And wouldn't you agree, Alice? Once you're good at Google Slides in science, you're good at Google Slides in math, right? Once you're good at Google Sheets in math, you're good at Sheets in science. They cross over. And so you don't have to relearn them for different subjects.
All right, so check my DOK 4 on this one, because whenever anyone says they're doing DOK 4, I always doubt it. Is it? Is it?
And then now Herbert has a good question. How does DOK interact with a research paper or thesis? I know what I have my thought there. So research paper
a good
or
research paper.
What's the DOK level of a research paper or thesis?
A crappy one or a good one? Is it a book report?
Let's go with a generalized one. Like if you said to your kids, hey, grade, fill in the blank, we're going to write a thesis and do a research paper.
In general, where you use a graphic organizer with the hamburger with the 5-part lesson plan. Yeah. So we're structuring it up for them. We're doing some of the thinking for them. I think we're talking, it's 2 or 3, and it really just depends. Are they just taking a collection of information and putting it into sentence form, filling in this graphic organizer? That's going to be a 2. Now, if we're making
generally to 2.5 to 3 for a clean day.
Justify some evidence, 3. And if you're, obviously a dissertation is DOK 4, all of them. But it depends on, you can't, that's what makes DOK so hard is you can't use the verb. Like they wrote a paper. Okay. That could be 0 through 4, honestly. And so you got to look at how much complex reasoning, not how hard it was, not how many sources they cited, but really how many connections did they make between unrelated things that are hard to connect together? How did they compare and contrast those? Then I could probably take it up to a 4. Does that help?
And one more thought too is that I think the problem with a lot of classrooms worldwide, and you've seen this worldwide too, Alice, is that the thesis and the research paper is held up as the pinnacle, and yet there's a fairly other level. It's like the difference between being a good citizen and being self-actualized. Lots of people can be good citizens, but to self-actualize, there's a whole other level. So hopefully that's some good feedback for you on that, Herbert, which is a great question.
Right. And so, okay, what do you think of my DOK4 question? Debate me on it. Identify 3 new governments that formed and how they chose their first leader, and how does George Washington compare? So you've got the French Revolution, you have China, Russia, Cuba. I think we can find a lot of different examples of where students would find where you have a transition of a brand new government, and they formed this new government. How were they formed? How does that compare and contrast with how our government was formed? And how are leaders chosen? That could be taken, and it depends what the kid does with it, right? But
Yeah, and guess what? You don't have to tell them what the end product's going to be, because it could be a short documentary. It could be slides. It could be a web page. Or if you like essays, you could do an essay. So now you're really pushing it forward, because they're also deciding how are they going to share it publicly. So you can literally, when you use a list like Alice has right there, you can literally watch the Bloom scale go bloop, 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 right up from memorizing to synthesizing, analyzing, and creating.
Absolutely. All right, so I've got some math examples here. My standard is time and distance, and I love this one so much because whenever I ask it to people, they'll always tell me it's like, it's DOK4. It's so hard. They make Far Side cartoons about this, right? 2 trains leave the station. This question is hard. And yet
just a formula.
It is a formula. I've shown you how to do it. If you know the formula, you plug these numbers in and you can spit it out. Now, how would I take this up to DOK2? Is maybe I'd say, well, what time was that? So, and that assumes I didn't show them that. So you have D equals RT, T is the amount of time. So then you have to take one extra step to figure out, remember, my quick and dirty for DOK is how much figure it out is there. So if they have to figure that out, but if you showed them how to do it, now it's just a formula of steps that they follow. So strategic thinking, DOK3. I got a lot of words on here. Let's focus on this one. What are 2 possible combinations? That you might ask a question that has more than one solution, that they have to strategize it. So today I was working with one of my students, and it was just a regular question out of the book about stairs. And it was showing the height of the stair and the height of the whole staircase, and asking questions about the tread of the stair. I said, before we do that, let's look up the specifics of what is to code, what makes something to code to be on stairs. So now I know this is the height of each step can only be between 4 and 7 inches. And then it said something very interesting. It said the tread could be a minimum of 11 inches. I'm like, okay, well, why was there an upper bound on this one, but not on this one? So now we have to think, okay, why is it 11 inches for the tread? Why is there no upper bound on it? So then I open up Desmos. I go to desmos.com, and we throw in y equals a over bx, the rise and the run of the stair, and we put the constraints to be between 4 and 7, and then 11 to some really big number. And I asked him to use the sliders. Like, I said to him, what happens as the stair gets taller and skinnier? And this student, he's just like this. He's like, well, it's getting steeper as it gets bigger. And I go, okay, we're at 11. What happens as it gets, like, you have some monster stair? He's like, it's becoming flat. So it turns out it just doesn't matter how big your tread is. If you're making them in your garden with like 36-inch blocks, it doesn't matter, because as more you go out, the flatter and less steep that's going to be. So then we're taking this into, okay, well, how does that compare to being ADA compliant? Do you see how we just keep, let's explore, let's get an idea, let's see where it goes out. And then we're starting to find the tangent to find, well, what is the angles to let something so that a wheelchair can roll up and down it. There we were doing some DOK 3-level strategic thinking. We're strategizing, we're building on it, we're looking at possibilities. Why does this work? Math is about pattern finding. If kids aren't finding patterns, I would argue they're not really doing math. right? We start a math lesson by the kids doing the thinking, looking at patterns, and that's how we get the DOK level up for that. DOK 4, and you'll notice I have it grayed out. And the reason that I have it grayed out is because DOK 4 is not our goal. In fact, if you go to openmiddle.com, it is DOK level 2 and DOK level 3 math problems. It's not DOK level 4 math problems because that's not our goal. That's not our goal.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal is to get like at least let's start doing a little bit more DOK 2, but trying to get the kids to find the patterns and what happens if this and why does that work, and so that they can explain their strategy is my ultimate goal. So I have one. Oops, went a little too fast. Design a cross-country road trip, taking into account your fuel efficiency at different speeds and considering where you need to fuel your car and where you're going to stay at a motel. So PBL projects are a great way to bring DOK4 into your classroom if that is your inclination, but don't make it your goal, okay? Now I have attempted to push this template out to your slides. Let's see if I was successful at this. So I'm going to make some slides for a couple of people. I am going to push these. I'm just going to push it again just in case. But if you go and open up your slides, just double check. You should see, yes, they did go through, that you have a template. You have a template for the DOK. So once you just give this a go, in that little search box that you see, it has a little search icon. This, and I'm nervous about this because my plan is to pull all of your slides in, which is great, except we have so many people and it just takes a little time. So we're gonna see how it goes.
Once you get more than 30 people in a thing, it really changes the dynamics.
Well, it's, you know, AppScript's just slow to load, but it's fun to do. Okay, so what I want you to do is in a little search box at the top, tell me what standard are you teaching tomorrow? What standard are you teaching tomorrow? And what is a DOK level 1 question? They can Google it. They can Google it. So now how can I upgrade that a little bit, that they have to make some sort of a decision? And so earlier, John was saying, hey, don't tell them that they have to write a paper with their information. That's one of the ways that we increase things around here is by having kids make some sort of decision on what the output looks like. My ultimate goal is as often as reasonable is to not have what 2 kids sitting next to each other, they wouldn't turn in the same thing, right? Even if they're working together, they wouldn't necessarily turn in, because they have to make a decision. Even if that decision is what font color to use, which is why I love Google Slides. What can you not do in Google Slides? You can do everything in Google Slides. You can do math, you can do history, you can do music, you can do lots of things in Google Slides. And in Google Slides, it just screams like, I should be more creative with this. And I love about Google Slides is that they take their idea and then they make another slide and build on that idea, and then take another slide and build on that idea. And then I had a purple feedback slide where they continue thinking and progressing through their ideas. Instead of cramming it all in on one piece of paper, I want to see a progress of their thinking out in slides.
Yeah.
John, you're going to say something.
Awesome. No, that's just, I'm just listening to it because what you're describing is a pedagogical process, right? So you're not just giving kids a worksheet or saying chapter 4. What you're doing is saying, I'm going to move you from here to here with a discrete series of events. And that's what we're not seeing in a lot of terms.
Okay, so I'm trying to look and see if we've got Sherry's in here. She's going to understand 2 digits of a 2-digit number. Sherry, you're speaking my language. I love doing DOK. I love doing DOK for math. If you go to robertkoplinski.com, he is the god of DOK for math. He has some fabulous resources on his blog to help explain DOK for math. And then also robertkoplinski.com has lessons that are problem-based for grades K through 12. And those are great. And he is the founder of Open Middle. So he's all about that higher critical thinking.
Big shout out. Big shout out there.
So we've got Sherry in there. See who else has got them. Richard's he's doing some heat transfer. And so he's got some good buzzwords in here. DOK2 is compare and contrast. And that is one of my quick and dirties for DOK2 is a compare and a contrast. It's not getting real into it usually with your complex reasoning. So it is DOK2, but it also to me highlights how you can't use verbs. You cannot use verbs because a really good compare and contrast can be DOK4. Depends on how complex I'm comparing, right? A basic compare and contrast would be DOK2. You're not slinging the slide deck at all, Pamela? Is that true?
Mario fixed it a while ago.
Okay. I think Mario is taking it in and out. I think he's working it. He's working it. Okay. I am going to skip. If I were to push these, I think it's just going to choke and take too long. So I'm just going to skip it. And I apologize, but I see some of your slides. I see some of you are working on it. And I will try and push some of those out later afterwards, just so that we have more time. All right, we all have the answers. The students all have the answers at their fingertips. So it's no longer about finding an answer. It's what you do with it. So when kids have the internet, we don't try to bury our heads in the sand and say, like, don't use the internet. In fact, my very first day of school, I tell the kids, install Photomath. You know what? They all laughed at me. Why did they laugh at me, John?
Because you're going to let them cheat.
No, because I already had it.
Even better. Even better.
You know, I have 5 children. They're aged 8 to 17. Now, the 8-year-old hasn't figured this out yet. But every time I look at my other kids, they're using Photomath or Mathway or printmath.com.
That's what college kids use is Chegg.
OneNote will do it for you. A Google search will do it for you, where it show your work. And show your work is replicable by a computer. That means it's DOK1. This is DOK1. Show your work is not understand. You know what, John? I am boss at. Like, I'm so good. I will kick your butt at it. We're going to do log things like log of A plus B. I'm like great at that.
Yeah,
I'm great at that.
I'm the opposite of good at that.
I literally have no idea what log is. I know it's like exponents, but other than that, I have all the procedures down solid. I am better than you at this, but I don't know what it is.
I guarantee you're better than me.
Procedural steps, and because we didn't apply it anywhere, I didn't have to explain it. I didn't have to go beyond what I could literally just do in my calculator on my phone. Although, of course, when I was in Algebra 2, cell phones didn't exist. But because we didn't go deeper with it, I literally don't understand it. And I hear this a lot is we need kids to factor trinomials by hand or do whatever. Long division does not do place value. It's not number sense. We need to have them do these so that they understand it. You don't understand when you do procedural steps. You memorize and you stress over, because as Joe Bowler says, that girls in particular want to understand something in order to learn it. So it's very hard to learn something when you don't get the context. So when we embrace the internet, we say, okay, you know what? Go ahead, factor it, use Mathaway, use Photomath. Those are my math examples because I'm a math teacher. John, I'm sure you could get a bunch of things like a spelling test, whatever, which, by the way, there is no correlation to spelling tests to kids being good spellers. That's something that we've just been doing for a long time because that's what we've always done, but it's just really not supported by research. So how do we take those things and then we have them do something with it? How do they make sense of it? How do they struggle? If you don't spend time struggling through the ideas, you don't really understand it. Can you do it another way? So let's take a look here. There we go. What is going on in this graph? This is one of my favorite things. I'm going to make an attempt to push this. Woo, I'm going to, Alice, push the slide. So I'm going to push this out to you. If you just do a Google search for this, New York Times, what is going on in this graph? They also have what is going on in this picture. John, do you use these?
Yeah.
Okay. This is one of my favorites because conversations are powerful. And it's not a bar graph. It's not a pie chart. It's never one of these boring things that you put in a traditional history or math book of these graphs. They're really complex. And they take away the headline and they take away the article, and using context clues, which is my quick and dirty for DOK2, but depends on how you're using those context clues. If you're making really strong connections and it's really challenging, obviously that's higher than DOK2. So as you're looking at this, what do you observe? What do you notice? So what I tell students is the first things we want to do is I'll take anything like there's a yellow blob, there's a green blob, yeah, I see a bunch of dots. Like, go ahead, keep talking, keep talking. I don't know. Tell me anything. There's a 400 on there. Awesome. I'll take anything. And what else? And what else? And what else? And the secret here is to do poker face. The secret here is to do poker face. Like, no matter what they say, even if you're like, no way. Okay, you're like, oh, sure. And whatever they say, I write it down. I write it down. Okay, because eventually they give feedback to themselves. Like, oh, wait, I see this, which contradicts what I said earlier. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What are you doing? Are you thinking? Are you thinking? Because I like that. I like seeing you thinking. Right, so when I zoom in on this, oh, there we go. Right, I can see these electric cars. What is this fuel cell? What do you think that means? And I'm practicing with students because this is a skill you are not born with. You're not born knowing how to analyze. You're not born knowing how to break things down and make good arguments. And I think a lot of times we try it with the kids and it's always a total failure if it's the first time. They sit there, they stare at you.
We have to plan for that.
I don't know. You know what? Come on, give it to me again. I just keep persevering. And I love to go to the New York Times, what's going on in this graph, because it's a great way to train kids how to, what do you notice? What do you notice? What conclusions can you make? It's a skill to teach them.
Well, and if I could add on, I just saw this on Facebook. I have a picture of an airplane, Alice. It's a picture of an airplane from the top. So it's kind of that cross shape. And it's from World War II, and it shows where all the bullets hit on the airplane. So I have the kids analyze that. And historically speaking, the scientists in World War II said, we need to put more armor on these sides of the planes and study our tail, and the tips of the wings were getting most of the bullet hits. And it turns out that their data only showed bullet hits on the wing tips because all the planes that got shot in the middle didn't come back. So it's a total heat map, old school, right? Like, so what should we do to protect the plane? And most people start talking about, well, they get hit in the wingtips a lot. We better put more armor there. But they were getting shot down because they're getting hit in the engines, which is right in the middle. So that's where those heat maps are really good for like posing those questions. I was thinking about that while you were.
Oh, thanks. All right. So just parlaying this is that let's embrace it. They're going to look it up. Have them look it up. What are they going to do with it? And we're going to have a conversation. We're going to teach kids to be great at building on each other's, to critique each other's reasoning. Conversations are powerful. Can we put my slides back up? There we go. Right. The key here is to get the students to do the talking. The person doing the talking is the person doing the learning. So when we switch away from trying to replace being a Google search, I got to try and draw these higher critical thinking conversations out of students. And again, it will go terrible. It will be terrible because you have to teach them how to do it. They have to feel confident to share their ideas. And a book I just could not recommend high enough besides Edu Protocols is Joe Bowler's Mathematical Mindsets. And don't let it fool you. It is not a book about math. It is a book about teaching. And one of the
I love that book.
About just creating that mindset with students that making mistakes makes your brain grow and you're not dumb. You were thinking. Let's talk about what you were thinking. And you create that culture in your class where kids become risk takers to share their ideas and have those powerful conversations. How do I move away from kids just Googling answers to taking that information and bringing it into some sort of a conversation?
True fact. I had to quit reading that book because I wasn't in the classroom at the time and I was getting so geeked about teaching math better that I had to stop.
It's so good. It is so good. It's the best book ever after the Bible. That's my standard joke. Okay, so I went to Mathway. You can use Photo Math. You can use Purple Math. You can use Wolfram Alpha, which powers Siri. You can ask Alexa. You can do all of these math problems a million different ways where not only do they give you the answer, it'll show you all the steps. So why are we beating our drum and trying to fight the internet? The internet has won, y'all. It has won. Our kids will not be better, faster calculators.
Nope.
Our kids will not be better, faster calculators.
It's the direct equivalent to memorizing states or memorizing vice presidents in order. It is not a useful skill for the long run. The useful skill for the long run, I've said this many times. I'm going to throw this out, and then I got to bounce in a minute, Alice. I've said this several times in public. If I was the United States, I would quit teaching math. Now, hold on.
I said this too.
I would stop teaching math
Arithmetic.
the way we do it.
Mm.
If every kid in the United States graduated from 12th grade and they could code, make a spreadsheet, and analyze data in infographics, first of all, everybody could get an A at that.
Data science.
Computer science. You can.
Data
There's
science.
6 or 8 ways to do it. But sitting around,
and California is actually weaving that into the standards. Did I?
Oh yeah.
Lose everybody.
But sitting around doing algorithms makes no sense for our economic future. Literally no sense. And we are wrecking kids' academic
talk.
We're wrecking kids' academic outcomes because they don't like basically doing Sudoku puzzles, which is algorithms. When you ask 10-year-old John to solve for Y, I would say, I don't care what Y is, so I'm going to spend no minutes on this. Give me something I can do. And making a spreadsheet or an animation using code or making a business plan within a spreadsheet, that people can relate to.
Yeah, totally. In fact, I'm teaching high school geometry this year, and I have some students where they're seniors and juniors, and I find out they really want to be a lineman. They want to work construction. And so I have found this book of construction geometry. And when I've switched the context, I'm doing some differentiation for some of my students. These kids who have been done nothing, have been doing nothing sometimes, and sometimes for behavior problems. Now they're my best kids. They're working the hardest.
Because they're engaged. You've given them a real problem to solve.
Context matters, absolutely. But we're not going to compete with calculators. And so we take this and we say, can you do it? I'm just going to give you the photo math. I know you're using it. I'm going to give you whatever website cranks out these history, English stuff. And I'm going to say, okay, here's what it gave you. How could you rewrite this? How could you do it another way? I need you to think about it, not just be an algorithm. You're not going to compete with computers.
Yep, 100%.
All right, we're going to
try Alice, I got to bounce. We're already 20 minutes longer than I thought we were going to be, but I love it.
Sorry, we're doing 90 minutes just because I wanted to try to do this interactive piece to it.
I love the conversation. Thanks to Mario. And
thank you. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Don.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invite, Mario. It was fun.
Absolutely.
Bye, John. All right. So what tools are ruining your lesson? So as a math teacher, Photomath has said, Alice, all of your lessons are ruined. The kids are just looking it up on Photomath and they're writing down the steps. And I see this every day at my high school, kids doing this. Of course they are. So then I have to ask different math questions. What can you not Photomath, or how can I take what they're Photomathing and adapt it? So what's another way you can do it? Can you explain it? Wait, something's in my way. Can you compare and contrast it? Like Photomath 2 math problems. Compare and contrast the solution. Can you derive the formula out of that? I just have to ask them for a higher critical thinking. And honestly, it's so much better. Go ahead, let's use Google to do those TOK1, and then we ask them to spend their time, instead of like, how do I do this? We're not going to spend time doing that. We're going to spend time really productively struggling through ideas and helping kids to be critical thinkers and critical analyzers of information and citing sources.
I love that. You could think about flipping it and having students create their own problems that follow similar, or that are around similar concepts, right?
Yes, that's always the right answer. Catlin Tucker. I'm a super fan of Catlin Tucker. She's up there in your neck of the woods, and she wrote the book Blended Learning for grades 4 through 12, along with a lot of other really awesome books who you should check out. And she says, have the students do it. Whatever you're doing, have the students do it. Have the kids write the questions. 100%. Totally. Thank you for that. Okay, let me refresh this. I believe I got it. I got some responses in here. All right, Jennifer says Spark Notes. Spark Notes. Oh, so we know they're using Spark Notes. You know what? I used Spark Notes. So when I was doing even my master's work, I'm looking stuff up in websites that are like this. So we got to be smart in that. We go there, we see what information is there, and then I give them the Spark Notes. They're laughing at me anyway, right? I give them the photo math. I give them the Spark Notes. So I say, okay, this is what this has. How do I want them to transform that resource? How can they take that and build on it so they're actually doing a more creative, critical thinking? Because you might as well try and dig sand out of the ocean. It's just going to keep filling back in. If you try to fight it, you lose. The internet has won. So how can we capture that? Okay. Book answers are online too. Absolutely they are, which is one reason that I like to have kids make some sort of a decision. So like with math problems, I like to play Mad Libs math. If I'm going to give them a contrived problem with where did that number come from? Someone made it up. I let the kids make it up. And then they fill it into the word problem, or it doesn't even have to be word problem, just into the equation itself, so that they're doing different ones than the kid next to them. And then when you look over, you're like, oh, I got the same answer. There's no thinking in that. There's no thinking, and I also got the same answer. It's that compare and contrast where I ask them to critique the reasoning of others, which is a standard.
Love that.
Critique the reasoning of others. So if every kid has a different number, they're each doing something different, and then they have to analyze at a DOK2 level what their neighbor is doing. I can take a DOK1 problem and make it DOK2 just by having them compare and contrast and critique.
That's awesome.
Others. All right. So there's that. Chegg. No Chegg. It is just like PhotoMath. And I believe Chegg has all of the Harcourt grades, Houghton Mifflin, all those worksheets. So my district was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on these workbooks so the kids fill them out. Those answers are out there. So
they're definitely out there.
Mario's suggestion where it's like, what happens when the kids write them? They can't go find worksheets. They're printed out. They even tell you number 51. You know, they don't even look for it by keywords. They look for it by the worksheet name. I've seen kids do that. So how do we construct questions together? How can we ask a question that's hard to just fill in there? And another thing that I like to do is I take my Google Slides, and every kid has their own slides, and then I actually throw into Google Slides, and of course I've coded a way to do that, is it gives each kid a random one. So they're all working on different problems. So again, how can I give kids different questions? When I use quizzes for all my low critical thinking stuff, I use QUIZ, IZZ, or things like that, because I'm not going to grade it. But what it does, it has a whole bank of questions. It randomizes the question. It randomizes the ABC. I have one that I'm working on right now. I have 300 questions. I typed up geometry final, and I had a kid actually do this for me. Just click add on all the questions until I had over 300.
Wow.
And I told the kids, I'll help you with them, but we're going to work on these until we get them. But they can't just copy off each other because literally every kid has a different question. So an easy way to go, check out don't check out Chegg.
Quizzes.
Have something like quizzes where it has the bank. So I have a big bank, and I say, give them 5. And then say, you got to get them all right.
Right.
Right. Google search, depending on the assignment and the outcome, right? So Google search, we know they're Googling it. Assume they're Googling it. Don't try to dig sand out of the ocean. Ask them to Google it. Now, what do they do with it? So we change the assignment. I love Google Translate. I travel all around the world. I've gone to Peru. I've gone to South Korea. I've gone to Paris. And Google Translate is amazing. Like, I can take my phone and hover it over the menu when I'm in Spain, and it literally just in live time changes the words, and it allows me to travel everywhere. Is it a great translation? It's getting a lot better. But depending on how far kids go, this can be a great tool that I figure out, like, how can we use this? One is, since the translation is not that great, let's start our lesson by translating it and then analyzing the translation. How would you change it? What's another way to say this? What are some slang words that you could include? What's wrong with this? What is it implying that you didn't mean to imply? I can take Google Translate. I use it. They're going to do it. So let's just grab it. Now let's do something with it. Let's kick it up a notch. Quizlet. Love Quizlet. All of the Quizlet answers are online. The kids know it. When you assign a Quizlet thing, they also know how to find the answer key for the Quizlet thing. Even though I think Quizlet is really great and all of the gamification features that are in there. But the Quizlet diagrams you should totally embrace because they drag it and it tells them if they're doing it right and they get that immediate feedback much better than grading it. That's for damn sure. I'm not sure what Brainly is, so I'm just going to keep going. That's from the other one. Just remember, the internet did not invent cheating. It's always been who fills out the worksheet. I believe it was Ramsey who said one kid does the homework and all the kids copy it. So you have to write questions and give kids assignments. It doesn't have to be because Google existed. Even when I was a kid, cheating occurred. So how do I personalize assignments? I ask kids to look up information. I don't tell them information. Ask them how they're going to apply it, how they're going to use it. You take it to a higher DOK level. We're going to personalize it. John's classic thing is compare the main character to your dog. You know, it's something that they can't Google, they can't get off of the internet when you ask them to put a bit of themselves into it. They need to practice search skills. They don't know how to search academically. They know how to type some words into a Google search, but we need to swap out our time is to give that time to teach kids how to find the information and then evaluate that it's a good source. I would like to put this as number 1 through 20 is helping kids evaluate sources. It's a critical thinking task. It's a life skill. It's really essential to a well-functioning democracy. Let's make sure we're evaluating sources. Feedback loops. That DOK3, they do something, they get some feedback. It might be feedback they give to themselves. It might be peer feedback. It might be feedback you give to them. But then they come back to the assignment. They come back to the assignment and they update it based on feedback. That's how we get higher critical thinking. So that's where we increase the DOK of the questions, where I ask, hey, here's this resource, here's the Spark Notes, here's the photo math, here's the whatever website that'll do it for you. I'm going to give it to you, but now you have to do it another way. Can you do it multiple ways? Can you be more creative with the answer? Compare and contrast. Compare the two ways that these two different photo math versus math way. What Quizlet versus something else. How do they do this? Compare and contrast these different sources that they found. And then last but not least, let's just embrace the internet. Don't pretend it doesn't exist. You just got to ask it differently. So thank you. Don't let the internet ruin your lesson. If you would like a copy of this code that will allow you to push and pull slides and use the Google form, I will be distributing that out to my members at alicekid.com/membership if you are interested. And do you have any questions? And you can fill, hold on, I'm going to update the form. Questions?
Yeah, and I'm going to also bring Barbara and Pam back in. Let's see here. Alice, you have so much energy at the end of a long day. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how many cups of coffee it takes.
I drink a lot of coffee.
A lot of great feedback here in the comments. I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions.
I would like to add one thing to what Alice said. And first, I want to have what you're having, because that kind of energy I could sell for $1 million. The Joe Bowler book, my absolutely favorite part of the Joe Bowler book was the part where she says, we never say, I can't do it. We say, I can't do it yet. And the addition of the word yet has changed my attitude for so many things. And that for kids who say, I can't do math because my mother told me she couldn't do math. No, 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 no. You can't do it yet, but with hard work, you will.
You can do
so
it.
For the people who are here tonight, we thank you so much for coming. We couldn't buy this kind of professional development if it weren't for Napa Learns. And to be able to give this to all of you for free is such a wonderful thing for NCOE and Napa Learns to be able to do. And I'm just thrilled that you're all here. We do have a bill, SB 767, that will come up next Wednesday if you're from California in the California State Senate. And I'm going to ask Mario to just pull out the names of Californians, and we will send you. What we'd like you to do is just call in that morning and say, my name is whatever your name is from this school, and I want to see everybody get this kind of professional development. I support the bill. That's all you have to do. So if you want your colleagues from around the state to have those opportunities, please help us with it. And thank you for being here tonight. And you're probably all exhausted after that hour and a half of high energy, fantastic information. Thank you, Alice, and bye, John.
Yeah, thank you, Alice. And thank you, Barbara, for sponsoring the program and for really being a champion of this type of professional development for years, really. In Napa County and beyond in events like this. So thank you so much for your longstanding support. I want to also invite everyone. First, if you aren't a member with Alice, I highly recommend that you join and secure yourself a membership, because this is just the beginning of some really tremendous learning. And Alice is always pushing even me. She got me a membership. She wrote me in, and I'm definitely gonna use this opportunity to be able to learn to code my own slides, which is something I've wanted to do for a while. And watching Alice do it on the fly tonight was really special. I also want to invite you guys all to attend our next session, which is going to be all about getting started with the California Student Media Festival. So any of our California educators, the California Student Media Festival is the oldest student media festival, and we are really excited to invite our educators to support students in submitting their work. We know that we're using media now more than ever to assess student learning and to get students thinking about new concepts in a new way. And so we want to take all that media that has been generated over the past school year and get students to submit it so that we can recognize their hard work. And Hall Davidson, our good friend from Discovery Education, is going to be with us, and some of the other members of the California Student Media Festival Planning Committee. So we really look forward to seeing you there next week on Tuesday, April 13th. And you'll all receive an email invitation to that. So I think that's it.
It was just a couple. I have everybody's email address, because every time they fill out the Google form, I have their email addresses. So I will just go ahead and highlight that and send everybody the slides. I had several people asking for them. And then to become a member, it's alicekeeler.com/membership. And if you want to email me, I would be happy to answer some questions about that. And the other one that we had was, how do we help teachers get those DOK level 2 and 3 questions? And the first place to start is to want to and really think, can it be Google? Does it have an answer key? How can I pull this a little bit more out of the kids? But do it incrementally. Don't dive into the deep end. How can I do one question this week that's a little bit higher critical thinking? And then debate it with somebody, because DOK is hard. You know, I would go over with Shelly. I'm like, this is DOK 3, and we argue about it. It's so much fun once you really get into it, because it's really nuanced as to what DOK level is this. In fact, I did a DOK workshop as part of my premium membership last week, and I put up what I did for my lesson that day. I'm like, okay, you guys, what do you think this was? And they're like, this is so cool. It's like a 4, it's a 3. I'm like, you're wrong. It's 0. It looked cool. But the whole lesson was click on this, click on this. And I was beating myself up afterwards, because I'm like, the kids were all engaged. They all did it. But what did they learn? Nothing. Back to the drawing board. It's hard. It is hard. So find really your friends. Keep having those conversations. It's actually a good time, I think. It's fine. Give it a good time.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Alice. It's been a great evening session, and we look forward to seeing everyone else later on down the road here as we continue our spring series. Thanks for attending.
Check out Hall Davidson. He's so cool.
Hall's awesome. We'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Bye.
Thanks, Alice.